my beauties. I hope you're doing fabulous. We are back with another to buy or not to buy. In these videos, I talk about makeup that has recently released or has been sneak peeked, and I try to convince you that you don't need any of these. Let's get started. Before I get started, quickly mentioning that if you're enjoying these videos, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. That helps my channel be seen by other people because the algorithm will then recommend it more to people who might be interested in similar content. Also, if you're not subscribed yet and you enjoy these kinds of content, go ahead and press the subscribe button now. And then I wanted to mention and show you all that I'm going to do my look with this palette. Now, this is, of course, as you can see, a palette of singles. Part of this palette is my dupe for Flying Fiddles. Because I knew I was going to bring this palette on the trip with me, I essentially filled it up with other singles that I thought would be interesting to use in combination with whatever was in Flying Fiddles. Also, as always, we have some coffee here. Now, beauties, as you can see from kind of the background that is different from my normal background, I'm still in Malaga, Spain as I'm videoing this. And full confession is that this is my second coffee because it's just one of those days. And I have a very packed and busy day later today, so I needed to sort of start it off the right way. Let's get started with the stuff we want to talk about, and I'm going to put photos on the side of the page. Sephora's semi-annual sale, and I don't know why I thought semi-annual sale was in April, but maybe I'm mistaken. So this is running from the 8th to the 28th, and we all know the drill. There's like different percentage of discounts for different groups of people. What do I need from Sephora? Sometimes I might buy like Moroccan oil and stuff on these kinds of sales. But the best way to do with these kinds of sale is to start creating a list of products that you absolutely need from Sephora and you have to buy from Sephora. There's no other way to get this product, maybe at a deeper discount from another store, which frankly, Sephora being a marketplace, unless you're buying Sephora products, you can buy the product from somewhere else probably, and you can probably get a better discount on it. So create that list, add those items to your box if you're waiting on this sale. Otherwise, you probably don't need to buy from this sale at all. You probably can get better discounts buying stuff from that brand directly. A lot of people might want Natasha Denona palettes and they're waiting on Sephora sale to go buy it. Nowadays, Natasha Denona gives discount codes, affiliate codes to influencers. So instead of using Sephora's code and getting the 15% discount, which is in fact only available for VIPs, you can just buy Natasha Denona off their website at any time of the year. I mean, maybe you would be saving on shipping costs if you buy it at Sephora. I don't even know. But what I'm saying is, just because there is a sale doesn't mean you need to go to shop. There might be cheaper ways to buy the items that you want. I also feel like a lot of times with these sales, you get sucked in. I mean, I'm talking about myself. I get sucked into a black hole. I go on Sephora website because I wanted to buy this one item on the sale, and then I'm like, oh, I need to add like $10 to get to that free shipping. So then I just go on the website and I keep adding stuff that I don't even need. Yeah, don't get sucked into that. You don't need the stuff. You don't need the stuff. Okay, that was a very long rant about one thing, but honestly, I think it was worth it because you don't need the stuff. The next thing I want to talk about is one thing that has me, this item has me conflicted. Now, you all know Glaminatrix is one of my favorite brands. This is the palette. Now, you all know I keep saying, I don't do pastels, and I do feel like in the past year, we've seen amazing quality pastels from brands, like a couple of palettes from Blend Bunny, like Cosmic brushes, pastels with very high quality, high pigmentations. Maybe my position on pastels has moved a little bit. Let me recap why I'm conflicted about this palette. First of all, the palette's $43, which is an amazing price. Second, I think I can dupe it, but I'm actually not 100% sure because I realized I don't have a lot of reds, like red, deep red mattes like that. Or do I? Because I do have some monochrome palettes from ColourPop. I'm not home, so I can't just look at my collection and say I have a dupe for this. I must be able to dupe this palette. And some of those yellowy shimmers, they look so nice. Yeah, so the palette's cheap, although it's coming from Australia, so there might be a hefty shipping charge. Yeah, I'm gonna get back to the US and I'm gonna see if I can dupe this palette. You know, I have a feeling by the time I get back to the US, this palette's gonna be old news, so maybe it doesn't matter anymore. Also, there's not gonna be any pre-orders on this, which is amazing. Beauties nowadays, decent prices and no pre-orders is, I love it. That's how I want things to be, and that incentivizes me to buy a palette. Good job, Glaminatrix. Let's talk about this one, which is from Gourmand Girls, Nueva Vida. And it seems like this is in collaboration with Steph Beauty Stash. Good job, Steph. Congratulations. This is launching March 8th. The artwork is by Doodles by the Bunny. I really like the color story. You know, purples. I can imagine, you know, deep purples in the outer V, and you all know how much I love purples. And then that beautiful shimmery green across the lid. And Gourmand Girls, I've used their Warriors Wear Pink palette. I put my review of that palette in the description below. They have pretty good quality. Now, do I want to buy this? Probably not, because I can dupe this. Now, as I said, congrats to Steph. As I always say, it's very exciting to see collaborations, but I don't think I'm going to pick this palette up. And of course, I'm on a no buy right now still. Only things that I absolutely have to pick up right now, because maybe there is an advantage in being in Europe and whatnot, are things I'm going to pick up. Wicked Widow Beauty, what is this? They are restocking stuff, but they are pre-orders. Why? Why? 6 to 12 weeks? 6 to 12 weeks of pre-orders. Beauties, when you're doing pre-orders, you're effectively loaning money to a company. You're giving somebody an interest-free loan for the duration of the pre-order, meaning that you could have put that money somewhere, invested it somewhere, and made some money off of it. But instead of that, what are you doing? You're giving it to somebody who's holding it for 12 weeks. 12 weeks is 3 months. Do I need to say it's a quarter? It's a quarter of the year. And you're not making any money off of it, and you're not getting their product. And some of these places actually send you those products much later than those 3 months. They tell you 12 weeks, they might hold it for 16 weeks, even longer. I wouldn't go into a 12-week pre-order, ever. And beauties, I have done this. I've done exactly this. Because, you know, I had the money and I was like, yeah, let's go into this pre-order. And at that point in time, I wasn't told how long the pre-order was going to be. And let me tell you all that the pre-order ended up going a season and a half over. So a palette that was ideal for summer got delivered to me around Halloween. And the truth is, those color stories are also not going to be valuable anymore. Like, you're not going to use a wintry color story in the middle of the summer or even in the middle of the spring. Don't do this. Don't do this. Edge Beauty. We've talked about Edge Beauty before. They're having a new palette, which looks like a very fall color story. Maybe it's a fair and reasonable thing to release something for the fall this time of the year, although I feel like we are way too early. But, you know, nowadays with some of these pre-orders, I wonder if companies are like, let me produce it months in advance so that people have it by the time they actually need to use it. But a palette having a white and a black matte, absolutely not. So moving on. Another one is this one, Paint the Town Red. This to me looks like a Valentine's palette, arguably. $35, Notoriously Morbid, already available. Who knows even, because I hear Notoriously Morbid goes through palettes really fast. Again, this is a quote from some comment I've heard from other people. I don't know for a fact, so maybe this is not even available anymore. But although it says this is not a limited edition palette, so maybe even if they run out, they'll bring it back. It's a pretty palette, don't get me wrong. I just know I can dupe it. The only thing that I've realized is that I don't see as many solid red shimmers, you know, a true red shimmer, not a shimmer that's a hint of pink, not a shimmer that has a hint of orange. Well, frankly, I don't even see that. Some shimmers with a hint of orange, but like a true red shimmer, not dark red, but true red shimmer, which looks like the center color here is that. But I'm not gonna go buy a palette for one color, so moving on. Let's talk about this one. How can I get around having to talk about Groovy Garden from Ensley Rain? I need something very strong. This isn't strong enough for this. First of all, in one look, it looks very similar to Harvest Moon. It looks very similar to Flower Moon. It almost is a dupe of those. And my question is, do you need this if you have those? Now they, I hear, have reduced the price. So the palette is not $80, $90, it is $70. So I suppose they're trying, but still not for me. Some of those deep toned mattes caught my attention, but I can probably dupe this palette, and I will dupe this palette. I think I promised you all that I'm duping this palette when I get back to the US. Most of these colors, beauties, I have in other brands, and there's just way too many neutrals in this palette for it to be worth it. I have mentioned in the past that I do recognize a lot of packaging is produced cheaply, and not a lot of thought and money has been put into its production, or that it just kind of didn't make sense, like it wasn't necessarily visually attractive for the average person. And frankly, the packaging of this product kind of matches all of those categories. It's obvious that the brand didn't put a lot of thought or money into developing high quality packaging. A face with a bunch of mushrooms with a galaxy in the background, like what is going on? If you're charging Natasha Denona prices, you better deliver Natasha Denona quality. It is how it is. On top of the fact that Natasha Denona actually probably has more overhead charges because they have to partner with these large marketplaces like Beauty Bays of the world, Sephora's of the world, who are going to take some of the commissions and profits from the sales of those palettes, which Ensley Rain is not doing. Okay, I'm gonna quickly get started on my look because otherwise we're gonna be going forever without it. So this is Painterly from MAC. And beauties, as I'm putting this on, I want to mention, I just want to make sure you guys don't feel offended by some of the things I'm mentioning about these brands. If I'm talking about a brand at all in my videos, it is a brand that I am interested in. It's a brand that I want to buy something from in the future. It is a brand that's on my radar. The purpose of these videos is not to throw shade, is not to create drama at all. I try to be as sort of objective and as data driven in what I say as possible. If I don't know anything for a fact, like for example, I don't know if somebody's producing their palette with a third party, I mentioned that the purpose of these videos is for you and me to spend our money buying things that add value to our collection, to not dupe our collection. If there is a brand that I think is absolutely problematic, I would just not even talk about the brand, to be honest with you. Any brand I talk about, I want to critique because I think they can get better to the point that I'm going to start buying from them. There's a few things from Viseart, which is another brand that I am kind of thinking, Cool Matte Slim Pro. Now, I think these are a larger version of their old palettes because they had Cool Mattes, right? This is definitely a brand I want to try at some point. They are pretty expensive, but people have told me it's worth it. So it is kind of in the list of brands that I would like to try from this year, later in the year. Another thing is that I was just complaining about not having cool toned browns, and it is. Look at the palette. There's a few cool tone browns in here. So if you've used Viseart and you have a particular opinion about it, Write in the comments below. I would be very interested to know. Clarity Cosmetics is sneak peeking 3 new palettes. Not 1, not 2, but 3. Lost Kingdom, Return to Sea, and Mermazing. Didn't they have? I thought they had Mermazing. And these are coming soon. And Clarity Cosmetics has recently delayed a lot of their releases. So I'm now wondering if all of these delayed releases and pre-orders are due to some issues with shipment. You know, I recognize during the global situation there was a lot of issues with supply chain and transportation and so on, but we're way past that. So I'm not sure what's going on with all these delays that require pre-orders, but that's what we're seeing. This look is going to be a little bit more neutral than I normally do. And I'm going to use my Singe brushes. And I want it to be warm toned. So I'm not going to use this one. I'm going to use this warm toned brown. This is such a pretty brown. If the video where I disclose what shades I put in this palette is up, I'll link it below. If it's not linked below, it's not up yet, and I will link it when it becomes available. But a lot of these are singles that you can buy as singles, so you don't need to go buy a palette to be able to recreate a lot of these palettes. Beauties, quickly mentioning, my hair always gets kind of frizzy. If you all know any solutions to frizzy hair like this, like hair masks and whatnot, let me know. I don't know what to do. I have fine hair and it gets frizzy on the surface like this. I don't know if it's sun damage or other kinds of chemical damage. I don't dye my hair or anything. It's just could be shampoo damage. Who knows? If you know any solutions, please let me know. Releases by Terra Moons. And Beauty's Terra Moons is one of my favorite brands. I have a lot of their stuff. I haven't shopped from them very much recently because I just have way too many of their singles that I've purchased over the years, and I feel like I haven't used them to the level that would have made sense. Some of them might have never even been swatched, which is why now that they're releasing some new things, and I don't know why I can't find it. Where are you, Terra Moons? Here it is. All of these already launched, and on top of that, they also launched 10 singles, 9 multichromes, and 1 duochrome. All of Terra Moon's past launches have been magnetic of the palettes that they've launched. I have 2 of them. If you're curious, look at my declutter video. Saying that to say, I'm pretty sure these palettes are magnetic, which would be at this point the only types of palettes I would be interested in. And of the 2, the only one that caught my attention is this lunar one, but I had to keep repeating this. I can guarantee you that only using my Terra Moon singles, I can dupe this palette. One thing that I've realized with Terra Moons, and I'm saying this with the extreme amount of love that I have for Terra Moon's quality, some of the singles are too similar. Probably on your eyes, they are not going to look that different. As I'm saying this, I'm going to start putting some NYX glitter primer on my eyes. I'm putting this here. If you're someone who has a channel and for whatever reason you need to have them, you're comparing them, you need it for reference, etc., okay, go buy them. But if you're someone who are just trying to figure out what to buy and not, you definitely don't need all of them. You are going to definitely have colors in your collection that are very, very, very similar. I really, really, really want to try this on, beauties. And this is one of Glimmers from Glaminatrix, I'm pretty sure. Again, in my other video, I tell you all of the singles that I use is Canary, which is a beautiful glimmer. And I'm putting this here. My plan for today is to go to Alcazaba, which is a fortress in the center of Malaga. It's free on Sundays after 2 p.m. and then you can go from there to Castillo el Gibralfaro. You can walk like 20 minutes up some hill and get to the Castillo, which is a castle. And all of them are free after 2 p.m. It's a little bit past noon. We're going there today, and this is gonna be my makeup. Again, point of this look is not to be super in your face. It's supposed to be a neutral look that is not so evident. So skipping these, another thing is realistically, Terra Moon singles, particularly for the high quality multichrome ones, they can be anything up to like $18, $19, which is money I don't have for this. We talked about Natasha Denona earlier, right? And we did not talk about this. So Natasha Denona released new Hyper Natural Face Palette, which is a face palette. So it has a contouring section, blush section, and 5 shimmers. I don't know if this palette has a cool toned version and a warm toned version, or is just this one. I'm guessing this is it because this is the only photo I could find. And this looks kind of cool toned. Now I recognize cool toned is the thing of nowadays, so maybe that's why. And this has already launched and is already available. I know there was a lot of reviews about it online, and it's $62, which frankly, knowing it's Natasha Denona and seeing all the prices nowadays, this looks like a pretty reasonable price for Natasha Denona, and I can't believe I'm saying that. But very neutral, no mattes, definitely not for me. Also, I'm just not a have everything in one palette type of a person. Did we ever talk about this? It's Bell Cosmetics' Under the Full Moon. So this reminds me a whole lot of the palette that Gourmand Girls did. What was it? I think it was called Silent Night. Not really my kind of color story, but it's available, and it is $32, which is honestly, seeing all of these ridiculous prices, that sounds pretty cheap. I also saw this because we've been talking about nail polish, and nail polish is definitely going to get me this year. Mooncat, everybody. And as much as I'm not into neutral colors when it comes to makeup, I'm into all kinds of colors when it comes to nail polish. And this is so pretty. All of these colors totally get me. Like I could, how much is this? These are like $14, $15. It's $78 for the set. So that's ridiculous, but they're beautiful. And as much as I would tell you, you don't need a matte black in an eyeshadow palette, I totally would wear matte black on my nails. Though, you don't need to go buy a matte black or a black nail polish from Mooncat. You can buy a $3, $4 black nail polish from like Wet n Wild or some cheap drugstore brand nobody's heard of, and it's gonna look kind of the same. Let's talk about this one, which is Lethal Cosmetics' 5 multichrome hollows with 4 iridescent triochromes. I'm guessing multichrome has more than 3 colors shifts, and triochromes have only 3 color shift. Not here for hollows right now. You all know that I have more hollows than I need for a lifetime at the moment. And same with iridescent multichromes, because I have so much makeup. I have so much makeup. But $18 for a multichrome, 18 euros. Wait a minute, it says 18 euros and that's equivalent to $17? Why is it more expensive in euros? Or is this a typo? Anyway, these are available. I don't need anything, and I'm not buying anything. You also don't need anything. A few more things from Viseart. Honestly, you don't need these. Let's not talk about them. Let's talk about this one, because I love cheap, high quality stuff. Salty Clouds bundle of 12, releasing from Luxie Beauty for $30. This is already released and it's available. And we all know Luxie has been killing it recently. So, although I wasn't super impressed by their fall release, that bundle was a little bit, not all the colors were as exciting, but they've been killing it. So if you are like, I definitely need to have one of these colors, I would not judge you. And while we're talking about neutral cool tone, let me also squeeze this one, which is Beauty Bay's new palettes. What were these called? Smoky. So this goes with all of their past palettes that they've been doing. I have a few of them. I have the berries one, the midnight one, the earthy one. But they did neutral ones and other things as well. And now they released these smoky ones, which I am actually not that upset about because Beauty Bay is pretty reasonably priced. And if you were kind of unable to afford, I don't know, Xenon from Natasha Denona or Smoke Show from ColourPop, although that palette was a bargain, but maybe you couldn't get your hands on it, or you just wanted these kinds of colors and you just kind of couldn't get them in one palette. Now they're available. I don't have a price, but frankly, Beauty Bay frequently has sales. So if for whatever reason you absolutely have to have this, wait a few months. I can guarantee you they would go down to like $6, $7, $8. Let me talk about this one while I'm doing my lower lash line. And to do my lower lash line, I'm going to go into this beautiful green just to add a little bit of pizzazz. I don't want it to be super neutral. So this is coming soon from Playing in Makeup by Yolando. And it looks like it's a glitter palette. Now, I would have said, who uses glitters anymore? But a few people have told me that they use glitters. But they have also confessed that they don't use this kind of stuff, meaning they don't use glitters directly out of a palette. I'm so curious to know, do these products even sell? Because I keep seeing these kinds of products. I think KVD Beauty recently released a few palettes like this, and I was like, who's buying these? Somebody must be buying them if brands are still producing them. But then I keep seeing them left over on the racks at TJ Maxx, so I don't really know. Clarity Cosmetics has also, on top of everything else I mentioned earlier, sneak peeked this one. They're being overly productive. Good for them. And Makeup Revolution. Not a favorite brand, but hey, it's a lot of people's favorite brand. So let's talk about it quickly. They have sneak peeked this, which is Sweet Chili Cream Blush and Highlighter Quad with a powder puff and a few other things. Totally not for me. I have not enjoyed using Revolution Beauty's quality, but I know they're very reasonably priced, so a lot of people love them, which is the only reason I'm talking about them. Also quickly talking about this Ladybug Glows, latest sneak peek in collaboration with Ice Cream Beauty Box. I actually don't know if this is going to be a palette that's sold separately or if it's just available in a beauty box, but the beauty box seems to be $25. Anyway, if you're curious about how to get your hands on this, you can figure it out on their Instagram. Also, Ladybug Glow is sold on Etsy, so you can go on Etsy. Going quickly into this color. Every time I have tried to pick something up from them on their Etsy page, it wasn't available to the point that I couldn't even find the palette. It's not just that it was sold out. Quickly mentioning this one also on Earthly Cosmetics' sneak peek, like the color story, would have picked up that matte blue as a single, but I don't need this. Refer Beauties is releasing 3 new brushes. If I wanted to pick anything up from Refer, my recommendation to Refer is to bring back their small and large collections. If you all remember, sometime last year, they released different sizes of their standard eyeshadow brushes. And if they bring those, at that point in time, I couldn't purchase them. I don't remember, I was on a trip or for some reason. And I did not buy those, but they need to bring them back. And if they do, I will buy the small ones. And this look is kind of coming together. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to use the same color a little bit here. Okay, beauties, I found something that was just like, wait a minute. Deck of Scarlet. You all remember Deck of Scarlet? I kind of thought they just disappeared. Also, wasn't Deck of Scarlet like a subscription service? Am I remembering this wrong? Anyway, they're back and they have released these two $65 each. I feel like there used to be a point where $65 was reserved for Sephora high-end brands, and nowadays everybody's doing $65. It doesn't matter where it was produced, doesn't matter the quality. $65. What price should the palette be? Just $65. You know, prices start at that. Realistically, the Cool Tone palette is nice for a brand that hasn't produced anything. Again, not buying any of this. I have these, I can dupe these. You probably have these, you probably have 200 dupe of this already, but for a brand that disappeared for a while and is now coming back, it's a reasonable comeback. Okay, beauties, this is the completed look. I put a little bit of this Go Big or Go Home mascara from KVD Beauty on my lashes. This is a sampler from one of Sephora's favorite kits. I love these samplers because I bring them on trips, and a lot of the times I just use them up during the trip and I throw it away. Then it reduces what I am taking back home and opens up space for souvenirs and just shopping. And I also put a little bit of this, which is from Dose of Colors, also a sampler that I got in something, Catching Feelings on my lips. Again, sampler for the same reason. I love traveling with sampler size items. And quickly also mentioning that all the colors that I used for this eye look are from the colors that I picked for duping the Adept Cosmetics' Flying Fiddles palette, which means this is an eye look that could have been achieved probably from that palette, or if you've duped the palette from the dupe. Thanks again, as always, for being here with me. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. I would love to hear from you what palettes you have really wanted but stayed away from, because the goal is to never spend money on things you don't need. Have an amazing day, and until next time, bye.